Hey friends, welcome back. It's March 17th and it's a beautiful 65 degrees today and crazy sunny, as you will see. Terrible day for filming, lots of shadows. Anyway, we're out in the garden today, just getting a little bit of spring prep done. It's still obviously too early to plant much, but we need do a little prepping. As you can see here, we put wood chips in our walkways, and in the fall we just kind of left piles sitting around. So we're gonna get this cleaned up today, and then I'm gonna give you guys a little tour of our garden and what it looks like, I guess, first thing in the spring. I just gotta rake these walkways flat. So I'll put you in a time lapse and we'll come right back. All right, we're done raking, and apologize if there's any wind noise. It's a little breezy on and off today. All right, I'm gonna give you guys a little tour of the garden. If this is your first time here, this is our main garden area. I think it's about 40 by 45 or something. It's not super huge, but it's pretty decent. This, when we got here a couple years ago, was just your standard, bare dirt, tilled up garden space. And over the first winter and spring, we realized that it was a little bit low in the yard and we needed to build it up. So let me flip you around and I'll show you how our beds are constructed here. All right, so this is gonna be maybe a little hard to tell. We have wood chips in our walkways. You can tell over there easier. We have wood chips in the walkways. And this bed here is actually asparagus. Need to clean out the old stuff. He's walking on another bed here covered in straw. So everywhere you see straw should be on the top of the bed. It might have fallen into the walkway like here. Now these beds, before this was flat and sunk in a little bit, and I went through and shoveled all the dirt from the walkways into the beds. So these beds are actually taller, probably a foot taller than they were when they started. In some places it might have settled down a little bit lower. So these are kind of like a raised bed. And we did that because when it rains a lot here in the spring, you have snow melt. We had just had a lot of water sitting, especially in this corner here. Apparently is lower than, like, this is like the high corner and that's the low corner, which it looks pretty flat until the water's sitting in it. So I made the mound beds so the water would sit in the walkways instead. Well, then you can't get out here in the spring very well because you got mud in your walkways and water, even though your beds are dry. So we got wood chips. We got free wood chips from just like a local arborist and dumped it in the walkways. And so these have been filled up now a couple times, and they're just a little bit lower than the beds, which is what I'm shooting for. I'm shooting for almost flat. So we got asparagus here. There's only two things planted right now. There's asparagus, which is obviously perennial, if you didn't already know. And then where that stake is, we'll go over there in a minute, there's garlic in that bed, and that you plant in the fall. So we also originally had beds running the full width here. We decided to put like a center walkway in just to split it into shorter beds, make it a little more accessible. We lose a little bit of planting space here, but this is only about 3 or 4 feet in between beds, probably 4 feet now. Now this is one of the only beds that doesn't have any this bed and this bed, these two. This one's really skinny, as you can see, because our wood chips are kind of encroaching on the walkway. Eventually we need to pull these back and we need to rake these back and then fill in with compost to widen the beds back out a little more like this one. But this one, in the fall, I just piled compost in here because this bed was still real low and I hadn't been able to get it high enough. It did the same thing with this one, but it's less noticeable. So, I mean, this is the garden. We've got trellises here. This was our tomato trellis from last year. If you were here, you'll remember that. We might be moving it. I believe we're moving. We're moving these, I believe. And then we've got 2 hoops. And I think the hoops might be staying. We're just growing something different on them. And I think over here, if I'm remembering right, we have a couple more of these panels and T-posts. I think we're doing a series of hoops here, so we're going to try to do like a whole bean tunnel, I think. Anyway, yeah, the wood chips make it nice to walk in here. It's nice and soft standing in the garden. It's a little rough if you're in bare feet, especially because the stuff was free. There's a bunch of sticks in it, which will break down, or maybe we'll rake them out off the top. But another thing they do that's really nice is they help to what do you call it? Drought proof our garden. So when the rains, not only does it soaks in here, but that keeps that water from going anywhere. It basically acts as a sponge and then leaches into the beds slowly. Here, let's talk about the straw. The straw is just a form of mulch, basically. Like you might do wood chips or something, or like a wood mulch. So like, look in here. Let's see if I can get an angle where the sun's not ridiculous. So we also put leaves under here, but if I dig down in here, this is just real moist. I mean, it's still spring here, but in the summertime, this keeps this soil really moist and loose. And between the broken up leaves and this on top, we just layer this on top. The soil underneath will stay really nice, and I can probably dig into it with my hand right now, unless it's still frozen. Like, it doesn't. See, this is why I don't till my garden. I don't know. You can tell if you want to. If it works for you, go ahead. But I really like no-till method that we got here. And so we put all this on in the fall just to cover it up for the winter. But we put a nice layer of compost on, and then we put as much of the leaf, the leaves. We use a bagger on our mower to like collect them all up and dump them here. Spread that out and spread the straw on top. So, I mean, this is our garden this spring. All I've done so far is rake out some of the walkways to make them flatter. We'll flatten up some more as we go along, and we'll dress them up a little more as we go along. But, oh, garlic. Let's see, the one thing that's actually green out here. So, this is our garlic. This garlic here, there's two types of garlic. I think this type is Krandazga Red, if I'm saying it right. And this side is Music. So, we had good luck with this last year, and everything we planted here is garlic that we grew last year. So, I don't know if you can tell, these are about 6 inches apart from here to here to here, and then probably 6 inches that way too. I don't know if you're supposed to do them 3 wide, probably not, but they did pretty well for us last year, and we'll give it a shot this year. But anyway, we started with only 2 bulbs worth when we first bought the Music last year. So 2 bulbs, you split those bulbs into cloves, and you end up with, I don't know, maybe a third of this, and then that turns into however many bulbs, and dozen bulbs, and it's garlic math. So, they're looking nice, and we're gonna be excited to have some more garlic this year. We still have garlic. Our garlic is still good that we harvested last year, so we're still using it. Anyway, this is the garden, and next time we have an update, I guess we'll take you along then. Anyway, thanks for hanging out with me. See you next time.